I'm not teaching, I am publicly learning. Hi and welcome to Learning for Life in the UK test part 554 by doing leg stretching. And if you participate in leg stretching, that is at your own risk. And we're right now preparing our video about literature. We want to do a 2-minute down video and telling all we learned about literature, or the things we want to include in the video. Now, I want to look for the word now in Home Thoughts from Abroad by Robert Browning. When does he always say now? Or to be in England now, that's April's rare. And it goes on. And whoever wakes in England sees. There was no. And whoever wakes in England now sees. There was no. Just at the end, when again, in England now. Okay, that is what I wanted to look. Now we're starting with leg stretching. If you participated, this is at your own risk. It is at your own risk. Legs in front and leg out in front. You can pull also the toes in. Okay, we are trying to learn this poem, or at least the section of the poem which is written here, of Home Thoughts from Abroad by Robert Browning, and of a braid, so that we are able to quote it when we are doing the video about literature. Now let's make fast something else, also to help to forget it a little bit, so that we see which part we are forgetting the easiest. The poets listed, a part of William Shakespeare, John Milton, William Wordsworth, Sir Walter Scott, and then were John Keats, Robert and Elizabeth Browning, and Alfred Lord Tennyson, and Lord Byron, and there was someone else at the beginning, first one. I don't know it right now. But usually, of course, William Blake. And then we had also named with on and Sécus Sasson, and then the next poems more recent were Walter de la Mare, next exercise, leg in and the other one out, and you can put it again. Walter de la Mare and John Millais was one of the three Dante Gabriel, the pre-revelites there. Dante Gabriel Rossetti and Sir John Millais and Holman Hunt. There was Hugh Hudson. Sir Walter de la Mare, Sir John Benjamin, John Masefield. Sir Walter de la Mare, John Masefield, Sir John Benjamin, and Ted Hudges. Who was Hugh Hudges? Yeah, and then we had winners of the Nobel Prize in Literature. These are Sir William Golding, Seamus Heaney, and Harold Pinter. And then we had 3 people winning the Booker Prize for Fiction, giving out since 1968. These are Ian McEwan, Hilary Mantel, and Julian Barnes. Now, back to the poem. How to be in England now that April's there. And whoever wakes in England sees, just sees. No. Why no? And whoever wakes in England now sees. And whoever wakes in England now sees some morning unaware. But the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf. Around the entry bowl are a tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings, I always think on high, while the chaffinch sings on high, song of the highest toes. I don't know why, I know some of the phrase with, while the chaffinch or some bird or so sings on high. And the next exercise, the card racer. My legs are 90-90, we have the hands at the knee behind of us, and we're leaning in front with the shoulder to the knee in front of us. While the that the lowest boughs unaware, that is what the person sees. But the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf around the empty bowl are a tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings. Anyway, from high from. While the chaffinch sings on the lowest bough, on the orchard bough. While the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough. It's so short actually. While the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough in England now. We will not do this video about literature right now. We will learn that a couple of times more. That is a bit too complex. And I want to have it a little bit more firm in the brain, not just for one video for a minute. So, we're going on. Leisure. We already said that about the gardening. We said that people are growing. We did that when we did the landscaping or the architecture with the Chelsea Flower Show. And when renting an allotment, when planting fruit and vegetables, there are garden centers, there are great castles also. the castles were Craig's Castle and Village Castle in Scotland. They are gardens, great gardens. And these are Kew Gardens, Kew Gardens, Sissinghurst and Hitcourt. And also Mount Stuart, that's in Northern Ireland, and Bowling Garden in Wales. And then we want to do at some point a video where we just say the 4 flowers, but we already said them in the video about the architecture. To the other side. Again, 1990 with the legs, to the hands to the knee behind of us, I'm leaning in front. How to be in England now, that April's there. And whoever wakes in England sees some morning unaware, but the lowest boughs and the brushwood sheaf, around the elm tree bowline tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings on high. No, that's not, while the chaffinch on the orchard bough, while the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough in England now. Shopping. Most cities and towns have a shopping center area which is called the town center. So the thing is it just happens to be in the town center, which makes sense, or is it actually called town center? So if someone makes a big shopping center outside of the town, do we then get a new town center? There are also undercover shopping centers. I still don't get what undercover shopping centers are. These might be in town centers or on the outskirts, be in the town centers. They are most of the time 7 days open, these shops, and on Sunday and public holidays there are some closing times. There are also markets, and there are stallholders, and they are selling a variety of goods. Cooking. Many people in the UK enjoy cooking. They often invite each other to their homes for dinner. A wide variety of food is eaten in the UK because of the country's rich cultural heritage and diverse relation. And there we have the traditional foods. We are going to the next exercise, just 1990, and we're leaning just in front. And there we know what our next video is. We're going to do a video and where we're listing these 5 traditional foods here. First, home foods from abroad. How to be in England now with April's fair. And whoever I have to have a story clear. It's so easy, the story. How to be in England now with April's fair, and whoever wakes some morning, it doesn't really make sense. What is the idea behind the poem? And whoever wakes in England sees, again England, 2 times England, then again. The important thing is England, home thoughts from abroad. It is not about April, it is not about spring, it is not about the chaffinch, not about the nature, it is about England. The central message. How to be in England now with April's fair, and whoever wakes in England sees some morning unaware. That looks so long. If I see the line, we come to the next exercise, the pigeon pose. Do it only if you already know how to do the pigeon pose. The line looks so long that I always think there have to be named at least 2 things in that line. But maybe it's because it's a little too silent. It's just with 1 font. Whoever wakes in England sees. And whoever wakes in England sees. But it is so short. Because the whole thing is just 1 sentence technically, but that line, and whoever wakes in England sees. How to be in England now with April's fair, and whoever wakes in England sees some morning unaware that the lowest balls and the orchard leaf the brushwood sheaf. And the lowest balls and the brushwood sheaf are around the elm tree are in tiny leaf, while the chaffinch sings on the orchard bough. In England now. Okay, the traditional foods. There are fish and chips in England, and also they did not tell us the name. Or is the name roast beef? The name is roast beef. Okay, there are fish and chips and roast beef. No, it is not the name. It is just roast beef served together with potatoes and vegetables. And also battery that is baked in the oven and called Yorkshire puddings, and other accompaniments. And when in Wales where veg cakes can be eaten hot or cold, and these are flour, dried fruits and spices. In Scotland, haggis. That is a sheep stomach stuffed with offal, suet, onions and oatmeal. Offal, suet, onions and oatmeal. A sheep stomach. In Northern Ireland, this is Ulster fry. And with bacon and eggs and sausage. And black pudding and white pudding, sauerbraten and potato bread, and mushrooms. Now the mushrooms are in the other thing. No, there are mushrooms and potatoes. And are the onions, which are not in there. Bacon, eggs, sausage, black pudding, white pudding, soda bread and potato bread. And then also tomatoes and mushrooms. Okay, we're going to the other side. Just 1990, and we're going just in front. How to be in England now with April's fair. And whoever wakes in England sees some morning unaware that the lowest boar and the brushwood sheaf, are around the elm tree's bowl. The elm trees, I don't know what a bowl is and not what a boar is. Around the elm tree bowl are in tiny leaf, while the cheffin sings on the orchard boar in England now. Round the elm tree bowl are in tiny leaf. That the lowest boars and the brushwood sheaf, round the elm tree bowl are in tiny leaf. While the cheffin sings on the orchard boar in England now. Okay, we're not going to do a video in this video, but we have that about literature almost done. So we now still the poets there: William Blake, John Keats, Robert and Elizabeth Browning, Lord Byron, Alfred Lord Tennyson, and Percy Bysshe Shelley. And also Wilfred Owen and Siegfried Sassoon, and then the four more recent one, Sir Walter de la Mare, John Betjeman, and okay, but it doesn't really work. John Masefield, Sir John Betjeman, and into the pigeon pause. Do it again only if I know already how to do it without injuring yourself. Ted Hughes, Sir Walter de la Mare, Ted Hughes, and John Masefield, and Sir John Betjeman. And there's a poetry corner with Mr. Abbey. William Shakespeare, he wrote plays and also poems, which are called sonnets because they have 49s and a rhyme in a specific way. There is then also John Milton. He, around Reformation time, started to write Paradise Lost, for example. Then William Wordsworth, inspired by nature. Sir Walter Scott, inspired by Scotland and traditional folk stories. And there's Beowulf, an Anglo-Saxon poem. There's, from the medieval times, also Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, around one of the knights of King Arthur, of a round table, and Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And then at the beginning, the winners of the Booker Prize for Fiction, given out since 1968, they are Ian McEwan, Hilary Mantel, and Julian Barnes. And the three winners of the Nobel Prize in Literature, they are Sir William Golding, Seamus Heaney, and Harold Pinter. Okay, how to be in England now with April's fair. And whoever wakes in England now sees some morning unaware that the little tiny, that is the next line, with the lowest orchard, no, with the lowest brushwood, and the brushwood boar around the empty bowler and tiny leaf, while the cheffin sings on the orchard boar in England now. It is the lowest boars, just the lowest boars. That's the problem, I don't know what a boar is, so it doesn't really make sense to save it. I also don't know what a brushwood sheaf is. It must be some sort of green, something growing a green plant, but chaffinch. Okay, last exercise. The butterfly stretch, just the soles of the feet together. We're sitting toward up. And we're stretching a bit in front. How to be in England now with April's fair. And whoever wakes in England now, some morning, England now sees some morning unaware. But the lowest boars and the brushwood sheaf are around the orchard boar and around the elm tree bowl Ein tiny leaf, where the chaffinch sings on the orchard wall. In England, no. It is just that the lowest boughs. Round the elm tree bowl, directly, round the elm tree bowl. We don't have time. I thank you very much, and until next time.